I learned Softimage, and then when I applied at ILM, they were like, oh, you know Softimage? Ding. And I got the job because I knew Softimage because they were doing Van Helsing in Softimage, XSI. So I got the job just because I knew XSI. So when I talked to them, they were like, yeah, we want you to come work at ILM. And I was like, awesome, like episode 3, right? They're like, well, well, Van Helsing, huh? Van Helsing, vampires and werewolves. That sounds fucking cool. So I took the job and I was working on that, and that was great. And then after that happened, then I was working on Lemony Snicket, a series of unfortunate events, and then they ran out of work because the director at the time was like, well, we're kind of behind, and you know what, those twin girls, they're actually able to do a lot of the stuff themselves. We don't have to do it in CG anymore. We're going to cut your shot count in half. Well, I guess we only need half the animators. Bye, Ron. And so I got a job at Electronic Arts, working on The Godfather. You guys ever heard of The Godfather? Yes. So The Godfather, the game was still early on, but they needed to show what they were going to do eventually. So they did this cinematic and like simulated gameplay that basically was, this is what the game's going to look like when the engine's actually done. And so me and one other guy from ILM and everything worked on that. And that was cool, and then I found out that, well, I met my wife, who was going to become my wife, and then we found out we were going to have a baby, and then we decided to move to Portland, and then I needed work, and so I ended up taking a job with a company called Cafe Effects. Cafe Effects was a small studio in Santa Maria, California, like Central California, and the guys who formed that studio, they were like, this is like farm community, like strawberries. Oh my God, there's a Home Depot. Like, it was that. But they had built the studio up and got more and more work. And they were doing this movie called Shark Boy and Lava Girl. So I went down there and I worked on Shark Boy and Lava Girl. And the movie was coming to end. And I had a new kid coming. So I needed work, so I put my stuff out there, and I actually got a job lined up with this studio called Tweak Films, working on a cinematic for Diamonds Are Forever, For Marshall with Love, the EA for Marshall with Love. So when they gave me my last scenes at Cafe, I was like, cool. So I'm leaving, and I'm going, and they were like, huh? And I was like, well, you haven't like offered me a position to stay, and I have a kid. So they're in Portland, Oregon. Ever heard of it? So I need to work. So I'm taking this job, and they were like, well, Ron, you like do great work, and we'd like to talk to you about. Great. What do you? So they had this opportunity with this guy, Guillermo del Toro. They had done Hellboy with him. And he was doing this new movie called Pan's Labyrinth. And it was a small movie, small budget, and basically, like, if he took the money he had for visual effects and gave it to somebody like ILM or Digital Domain, he'd get one sequence and that'd be it. Meanwhile, Cafe Effects, who had done work on Hellboy, said, hey, Guillermo, we actually want to do everything. We want to be able to show that we're not just compositors. We can do everything. So how about we actually like pony up money to help produce this movie, and in exchange for us helping to produce it, we get to do everything. And Guillermo was like, well, beats what I got going on, sure. And at the time that was happening, so they were like, hey, Ron, we're doing this movie called Pan's Labyrinth. Want to come back for that? And I was like, well, I've already agreed to go to Tweak for Marshall with Love. No problem. That's not starting until July anyway. You go do this, you come back, and you'll be the supervising animator for this movie, Pan's Labyrinth. sounds great. I'll call my wife in Portland, honey. So when we were working on that, it was awesome. Like, oh my God, and look. And it was definitely one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'll work on that. And once every 6 years, I'm gonna say to somebody, ever heard of Pamphlet? Huh? Spanish movie, that Hellboy. like we thought that was gonna be the sound. I mean, it was awesome. It was like this dark Alice in Wonderland, like cool. But we assumed no one's ever gonna see it. And then it was nominated for, what, 6 Oscars and won 3, and it became this huge deal. We had no idea at the time. But it ended up being a thing, which